Bids are in. The gavel is dropped. Ladies and gentlemen, here at WineBid, we are finally hammered. That's right. This is WineBid's podcast dedicated to all things wine value, wine retail, wine auctions, and just wine. My name is Jeff McGurn. I'm on the WineBid marketing team. With me, as always, is Paul, the Victor of Vintage, Walker, our wine expert. Welcome to the podcast, Paul.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're absolutely welcome. Today we're going to be going over a little bit of an auction recap of the auction that ended yesterday, which was Sunday, May 12th, 7 p.m. Pacific time. We're going to talk through a lot of the interesting stuff. Now, keep in mind, a lot of stuff we're talking about, there may still be bottles at auction. Right. There still is a lot of stuff that was in last week that's at auction this week. Not everything sells every week. There's a lot of interesting stuff out there. And then later in the week, we're going to be talking about some of the really cool stuff that came into auction. But I want to start with this little game that Paul and I like to play. And the name of that game is, I don't have like a cute name, but it's Guess That Mover.
Guess That Mover.
Yeah, that's all I got for you.
Okay.
What bottles? I mean, and actually, you don't have to guess the bottle. This is sort of like a Master the Sommelier blind test, but instead of like trying to pick the wine blind, try and pick like which ones were the biggest movers this week. Care to guess, Paul? Can you guess the country of the biggest mover?
Germany.
You looking at it? I know you're looking at. Are you cheating?
Well, I look at the results from last week's auction and
Peter,
I sort by a number of bids. And so oftentimes if there's multiple quantities of a wine, especially if there's multiple cases, there can be a lot of bidders, which means there can be a lot of bids. So it doesn't really add up to
fine.
The most, impressively moving wine or however you want to call it. But
94 von Schubert, Maximin, Grünhäuser, Herrenberg, Riesling Kabinett, number 22. 9 bids.
Yeah, that was a popular one.
Bucks. Yeah. 204% increase, super popular. Love it when you see something like a Riesling, get a huge bump. The one though that I was like floored. Can you guess number 2?
See, now it gets trickier.
Don't look at the numbers. Look at me.
I'm not looking at the numbers. I'm reviewing things since I was rushing today since there's so much new wine in the auction.
Let me put it this way.
Hold on. Let's see.
No.
Is it from Bordeaux?
No, don't just look. I'll give you clues. Okay. It is from the United States.
Oh, it is.
Yes, it is not Napa.
Not Napa. Is it Central Coast?
No.
Is it Northwest?
Yes.
Is it one of the wines that one of our picks from last week?
No. But let me give you a little hint. If you tasted this wine, you might say it was a Pinotage.
Oh, no kidding.
2017 Cayuse Armada Syrah. 5 bids took from $35 to $100. We had 3 of them that sold at the $100 mark.
Wait a minute. Where did it start? It started 65 to 100. I see.
No,
that's interesting, right? Because this one
35.
No.
Was it?
Started at 65. The Cayuse isn't that cheap.
Oh, okay. Right. Sorry. 65 went to 100.
Well, the funny thing is this auction was in last week and it hammered at 65. That doesn't make any sense. And there was only 1 bottle of it in last week. There were 3 bottles in last night and they got bid up to 100. So that makes no sense to me at all.
Doesn't make any sense. The next one was I believe this is French.
Was it this rare Le Carme Haut-Brion? Because I saw that thing jumped quite a bit.
Nope.
No.
What the Carme Haut-Brion did, but there was something that jumped way more.
And a single bottle, or is it multiple bottles? That's always the tricky one.
It is a single bottle.
Okay. Yeah, because I was looking at the single bottles with a lot of bids, and I don't know. Tell me.
2001 Chapelle De Lafaurie-Peyraguey.
Oh, Lafaurie-Peyraguey, the second label of Lafaurie-Peyraguey. Well, yeah. This was one of my picks because it's 25. From a phenomenal vintage. It's also quite rare. It's also hard to find. $25 to $62. Yeah, that's interesting actually because you can consistently buy half bottles of 01 Sauternes. I mean, not Riesling, of course, but a lot of other ones for definitely less than that.
Right.
And that's the second label, unless it's like some micro cuvee or something. I don't know. I don't think so. I'm pretty sure it's a second label of Lafaurie-Peyraguey, but that's impressive.
It's just fascinating there.
That's impressive.
Then we've got this multi-vintage Musset Fils Brut Solera.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, D'Ugine Blanc de Noir.
Yeah, so this wine was in my champagne picks, and it's pretty rare. And I think it goes back a ways as far as the Solera. I don't know if the details are like on the back label or something. There were a couple of these. Did you see that? There were two of them actually, and one of them sold for $46,
and one sold for $82.
Because I think the other bottle had a really messed up label. I think the label got torn or scuffed or something.
Yeah,
it did. It got all like scuffed up and messed up.
This is also my ignorance. Did they have like the same disgorgement date?
It's hard to tell because the back label, it looks like somebody tried to just jam it into a rack and it just tore the heck out of the back label and the front label. But yeah, you can see it says perpetual blend something 2020. I can't see the rest of the date, but something 2020. And then it looks, yeah, you can't really see the disgorgement date, but it looks like, what did the other one say? Because it looks like 2022 or something. It's hard to say. It's hard to read.
That's what I'm looking at right now. It doesn't show the disgorgement date on the notes. So I don't know. I mean, that's
yeah. It's on the back. Disgorgement.
Oh, no. 2022. And the other one, it does not.
The other one says 2022. I think it's the exact same wine. But it's interesting because it's got, it's got vintages from 03 all the way up to 2020 in it, hence the Solera description. And then 2022 is disgorgement. But yeah, no, it's the same wine. It's just the other one had a really messed up label. So you can get, there you go. You can get deals. If you don't care what the label looks like, you can get wine for half as much.
Yeah.
In the same auction, no less.
In the same darn auction. 60% increase goes to 1999 Laurel Glen Sonoma Mountain Cabernet Sauvignon.
Oh, I see. I love this stuff. 99, did you say?
99.
Yeah, that wine is softer than I thought it was going to be. The 90s vintage Laurel Glen it's phenomenal. It's really, really good. And it's not cheap. I mean, not expensive.
Yeah, 85. Went from 70 to 112. That's not too bad for something with that much age on it. 25 years.
No, and there were a couple. There was 96 in, started at 60, got bid up to 80. I mean, those 90s vintages are definitely more popular than they used to be. Oh, you know what the interesting thing is about the 99 is it's the reserve label, and that's actually quite a bit rarer than the standard label. But
it was a reserve.
Okay, yeah, we've only sold, I don't know, not much more than a case of that.
Then we've got, with a 56% increase, going from $65 to $102, this 1970 Les Carmes Aubryon.
Yeah, that was one of my picks. It's like a super rare wine from last week.
54% increase, taking it from 35 to 54. This 95 Marquis de Caceres.
Caceres, yeah.
Grand Rioja. I thought that was interesting. 51% increase going from 45 to 68 was this 2020 Xavier Monod Merceau Chevalier.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, 45 seems like a pretty darn good deal for Chevalier from, almost anybody, but yeah, it's not too bad. That's still not a terrible price.
And then we saw an increase on a couple bottles of 15 Ganavat Sous la Roche, Cuvée Julien Pinot Noir.
Surprise, Ganavat gets
surprise. Like Ganavat's always on this list. Anytime it shows up, it seems like. Let's talk about some just really notable bottles that we saw. Hammer. 18 Alain Houdelot Noala Romani Saint Pavant 3 liter hammered for $32.30.
Yeah, that was one of my picks. I said, we never see much of this wine in the first place, and then finding big bottles like that is extraordinarily rare. So
yes,
that's quite cool. That is quite cool.
I thought this was interesting. 6 liter of 09 Schaefer Vineyards Hillside Select Cabernet Sauvignon for $2,000. So a little bit of Hillside Select for you there. The 2012, and we mentioned this, the 2012 Le Pin had 3 bids, taking it from 1650 to 1850. So on the Le Pin, a mag of 90 Montrose $1,600.
I remember another one of our picks, but did that sell in the first week? I think it might have taken 2 weeks to sell, if I'm not mistaken. I didn't see that. I didn't look it up, but
we had the 79 Petrus for $1,540, and this 2014 Georges Noëlla Grands Echezot 3 liter went for $1,360.
Yeah, that was the other Georges Noëlla wine that I thought was very, very interesting and have never seen before in that format. So
95 Rayas Chateauneuf du Pape went for $1,275. And we mentioned this, the 1939 Chateau de Chem went for $1,265.
Yeah, I think there was an email about this wine that went out from Matt and said that it would have, last to its 100th birthday or no problem. 100th birthday, excuse me, no problem. So that's that's a cool wine for sure.
And you don't even have to wait that long to get to the 100th birthday.
It's not that far off.
Not that far off. 03 Jean-Louis Chave Mag for $1,120.
Yes.
We don't see tons of Chave Mags, but we have
not many.
82 Mouton, 3 of them all sold for $1,050 piece.
Okay.
So somebody's into the Moutons. Here's one that I thought was like super interesting. We had a bottle of 2020 McDonald sell for $1,070, and there's still one of those available for $1,070. And then we had another bottle of 2020 McDonald sell for $750. We had 2 lots. The one with 2 bottles was going for $320 more. And
that is interesting, actually. I guess, nobody saw the other lot, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things where like maybe you're tracking it and you don't see the other one trickle into the auction, but there's always these situations where, and keep an eye out, because sometimes you'll have a different consignor come in with the same bottle and they're asking for less.
Yeah, they might have manually dropped it, because I know consignors will do that sometimes when they just want to sell it right away. And so that's kind of an interesting thing to look for. There will be, lots of wines at different prices, and it can either mean that the consignor is inflating the price, which we allow them to do within reason, or decreasing the price if they want to just move it quick. So I think that's what happened with that other McDonald, but that is quite a significant difference.
One of these days, I'm going to take like a bottle of McDonald that I own or something, and I'm going to put it up for $1. And see what happens. Like,
what happens?
Let the chips fall where they may, Paul. Let the chips fall where they may. 82 Petrus, $1. Go for it, people. Let's see what happens with this auction.
We have done that in the past, I will say. That was something we used to do, $5 auctions with various banner bottles, and it was the results were interesting.
And then the last one I'll mention is this Conchi Toro Don Melchor Cabernet Sauvignon from 2003. It's a 6 liter.
Oh, that's sold. Okay.
That sold went from $680 to $730. Right.
That's cool.
Paul, walk us through the weekly winners. Like where do we
some fun stuff in last week that we've seen historically quite a few times that have jumped, right? Mid-90s Arajo seems to be always very popular and getting, it's harder to find, right? So 95 Arajo sold for $405, and that was a high for us. And as far as we know, externally, a universal high hammer. There was a 19 Bryant Magnum hammered at $1,350. Is another big number for us, and I think as well as externally, as far as the data that we can access. 67 Cheval Blanc, which I think I mentioned in my picks last week. I don't think our podcast unfortunately got recorded, but I did have the picks. Hopefully they were up on the blog or somewhere. In any event, hammered at 500, for the 67.
Yeah,
it's a hard one to find. It's not the world's greatest finish, but anyway. Let's see, 2010 Mouton hammered at 860. That was a big number. Colgan Herb Lamb, and I remember there was 94 in, I think, last week too, which I picked because it wasn't terribly expensive. But the 97 was also in and hammered at 450. So younger vintages are going for more, but still, that's a classic one. Foguet Musigny 18, hammered at 600. Oh, this is funny. The next wine is Georges Roumier Corton Charlemagne, which we had kind of laughed about the 00 wines, Corton Charlemagne, selling out the gate for 950. Yes. When would you expect to see a Roumier wine selling for less than a Northwest producer? But, there you go. So the Roumier 95 sold for 620. There's another bottle of Roumier in this week at different vintage, I think. Fun to see where that goes. But
does this not suggest that people from the Pacific Northwest, the United States, are better at making Chardonnay?
Oh man, you're gonna sell a lot of robots with that comment.
No, I mean, I feel like that's what you just said.
No, I didn't say that. I was just surprised to see a wine that I had no idea was even produced. Although I did notice in my sort of very, very cursory research that 00 Wines has been making Burgundy for several years, and not just from Corton Charlemagne, but multiple vineyards. Anyway. Roumier Corton Charlemagne looks like a deal next to it at 620 for the 95. Anyway,
can you imagine them like getting off the plane, walking into the vineyard, and being like, "Out of the way, we got this," right?
Well, I'm sure there were locals involved in production there, so
okay, probably.
Who knows? Anyway, 2020 Leflaive 6-pack of the Meursault sur le Dodan. That was 1560, which is meaning that, even Meursault from Leflaive is getting up there. Still not horrifically expensive when you talk about other Meursault. But anyway, it's still made Leflaive. And then let's see, there was a rather rare selection of Leclerc Bryant Brut Zero Champagne and Blanc de Blanc 3-pack for 470. Actually doesn't seem like a terrible price, but apparently beat an external hammer at 370 from earlier this year. 05 Jadot Clos de Bez hammered at 495, which was impressive because I think you talked about inflated reserves a second ago and how consigners can price their wines. I don't know if that was default or not. I think I do know the client that sold this wine, but 495 is a big one, especially for Jadot Clos de Bez. It usually looks like a deal compared to some of its high profile neighbors, and the wines are phenomenal.
Maybe not a deal anymore.
No, I know. I think there was other Clos de Bez in last week for under 400, but in any event, the 05 at 495 is definitely a record for us. And then 96 Penfolds Grange rounds it out, hammered at 505. So there you go. Some fun wines last week.
What a time to be alive. And let me tell you, some amazing stuff happening in some amazing movement in the wine world. That just about concludes our episode. Let me just say, we got a lot of great stuff coming to auction this week. And I'm going to give you a code to use if you've listened to this whole thing and put up with Paul and I for the last however long this is. You can use the code VICTOR, VICTOR. You can get $15 off an order of $150 or more for this week's auction only. It's ending Sunday, May 19th at 7 p.m. Pacific time. VICTOR, because Paul is the victor of Vendage. And that just about wraps us up with WineBid's Finally Hammered. This has been Paul Walker and Jeff McGurran wishing you happy bidding, and cheers.
Cheers.